Hey guys, I want to make a quick video about our best in slot dungeon gear for Warlords of Draenor. So the way dungeon gear is going to work in WoD is it's going to be that personal loot system. So instead of you killing a boss and it drops loot and everyone rolls on it, you're just going to loot the boss and you'll have a chance at getting loot. So because of that, each piece of loot can be dropped by a bunch of different bosses from different instances. So instead of listing off all the bosses, I'll just put a link in the description to the spreadsheet I have, which lists all the bosses and what loot they drop. Now all this loot will be best in slot for marksmanship, which as of now is still looking like it's going to be the top spec, so the secondary stats will be based around that. The helmet is going to be the Lava Link helm. The neck piece, you're going to want the Storm Shot choker. For shoulders, you want the Rockhide shoulder guards. For the cloak, I went with the Cloak of Cascading Blades. Chest is going to be Lava Link ring mail. Bracers, you're going to want the Stream Slither bracers. For your weapon, you're going to want the Bone Tooth longbow. Your gloves is going to be Rockhide gloves. Belt, Rockhide links. Pants, Stream Slither leggards. Boots, Rockhide treads. For your two rings, you're going to want the Ancient Draenic loop, Roger Brown's Diamond Seal, and for your two trinkets, you're going to want the Blood Seal of Azakel and Gorshan's Lodestone Spike. Like I said, all this loot can drop from a bunch of different bosses. The only exceptions are the weapon, which only drops from Bone Maw and Shadowmoon Burial Grounds, and your two trinkets. The Blood Seal of Azakel drops, surprisingly, from Azakel in Ashendown and Goroshan's Lodestone Spike. He only drops from Orbender Goroshan in UBRS. So those are going to be top priority too, since they're your weapon and trinkets. It's the biggest DPS increases. And I also, like I said, I'll put a link to the spreadsheet I use in the description, which will have all the loot and where it comes from. And then you can also sort it by what loot you can expect to get from each instance. Now, in Warlords, there is another way to get gear, and it's through the Epexis crystals. You can get the first tier of it for 3,000 or to 5,000, depends on the piece. This gear is, it's alright, it's basically just side grades from the dungeon gear. I won't be getting it, and I don't necessarily recommend getting it right away. Epexis crystals can also be used to get your seals, the seals of something. It's basically the new coins for extra rolls. And you also need something like 5,000 Epexis crystals for a certain part on the legendary quest chain, which you will be able to do before the first raid comes out. Quest specifically grants you a ring that I think is eye level 680, if I remember. I know it's definitely better than either of the other two rings, so you're definitely going to want to do that and get that ring. Now, if you are going to get some Epexis crystal gear, there's the 5 different slots you can get. There's a head, pants, belt, gloves, and cloak. I would recommend just getting one piece at a time and fully upgrading it. The first stage is just an eye level 630 piece, which is going to be the equivalent to a heroic dungeon piece, and that's going to be about 3,000 to 5,000 Epexis crystals. The second stage is a 645, which is like 10 to 11,000 crystals more on top of the original. And then to get to the last stage, which is 655, which is a pretty decent upgrade, is going to take like 17 to 20,000 Epexis crystals, all depending on the slot. So it's going to take a while to farm, but it's definitely worth it if you've got nothing else to do. Now, in some past expansions, PvP gear was actually pretty good for raiding at the beginning. That's not really the case in WoD. The honor gear, at least, is bad. It's only 620 eye level in PvE content, and I say that because the way PvP gear works now is it's going to scale up whenever you're in PvP combat. But yeah, in PvE combat, it's going to be a 620 eye level, so it's not going to be as good as your dungeon gear. The conquest gear, however, is going to be 660, so it will be upgrades. You can get some conquest just like you normally do, arenas and raided battlegrounds, and you should be able to get at least one, possibly two pieces before the first raids come out. So I would say make sure you get those done, get those pieces. And they have this new system in, they're called strong boxes. Basically, the better your team does in a battleground, the higher chance you have of getting a better strong box. There's a bronze, silver, and gold one, I guess. And I believe the gold ones have a pretty low chance, but a chance nonetheless to drop some conquest gear. So that's something you could possibly do in your free time. Do those, get a chance at some conquest gear. And lastly, there's also crafted gear, obviously, but I'm going to cover that in a later video, along with enchants, food, and flasks, potions, and that kind of stuff. But until then, I'll see you next time.